And I want to welcome you guys to the ArtPlay Strom inspiration. So today we're going to be playing with the collection. So we have the complete collection here, consists of 6 products. So you basically get all of the products in the collection, and then you get this bonus here, and we'll go through and we'll take a quick look at them. And then there are a couple of companion sets to this. Just the Artsy transfers and the cards, I'm going to have to start sort of paring back a little bit, so I'm not working every minute of the day. So probably the companion sets will stay. And then I know that there's a need for more of these style. This is what I came out with on Friday. So not part of the collection, but something new that I might pull into the mix today as we're playing. But I want to get back to some of the basics that I used to do, more of the splatter sets and the brush set collections and stitching and a lot of the things that I just don't have time to get to at the moment. So kind of slowly trying to move things around and figure out how I can work a 6-day work week instead of 7. So we have the Artsy Template, we have the FotoBlendz clipping masks, and then we have the word art. I actually added in these fun little word quotes, sort of their clippings from a vintage book. I thought those would be really fun to add something new into the mix. So just trying to kind of push the realms. We have the multimedia. So basically 6 products, and then with the bonus, and then the 2 companion sets we'll be playing with today, and then I might bring in some of the stitching as well. And there was a question about the difference between urban stitches and threads, so I'll address that as we go through. So first of all, I want to kind of just go into some of the products just to sort of show you around. We have 2 files for the ArtPlay Palette. So I had a request for a male or a masculine themed palette. A lot of the things that I tend to do have a lot of flowers. I actually don't have an issue putting flowers on my boy pages, but it is nice to have a bit of a departure from that. So I was actually inspired by an old collection of mine, Uplay Palette Remarkable. And so I did kind of a lot of what I usually do, brought in some masculine tones, some neutrals, lots of texture, and I brought in these kind of real big shapes. So they kind of curves and X's, and so I kind of played with those. So that was really fun to bring that into the mix. You get 4 of these artsy papers that you can then use with the FotoBlendz clipping masks. I'm just going to go ahead and bring one of these into my workspace. Let's bring this one, and this one seems to be a popular one. I've seen this one used a lot. So I want to bring this in because I want to show you in this session just a little bit how these collections are designed to work together. Every piece is meticulously designed to coordinate with all of the pieces in the collection. I literally, down to a T, know how many papers I'm going to be doing. I know how many elements I need. I know exactly how it all works together. So I wanted to kind of share that a little bit today. Then, of course, I always give you guys some of the solid papers. And of course, my viewer has now decided not to work so quickly. But these are basically the solid papers. And then those are designed to go with the transfers and overlays. And so just if you're curious of the difference between transfers and overlays, essentially they are the same thing. They are elements that have a variety of splatters and art strokes, textures. The ones that I tend to call transfers tend to be less transparent. They're more opaque than perhaps the more transparent pieces. But essentially, you can just drag and drop these pieces, these elements onto your layout designs and create your own artsy papers. So I had a lot of fun with this kind of dotted stitching effect in this particular collection as well. So that is the ArtPlay palette. Of course, you always get a brush set, which is super fun. I included some of these pieces in there, these art strokes. Just it is the same sorts of things. This would make a great blending brush. Fun little edge here, more blending opportunities here in textures and splatters. So I always kind of give you guys a variety of different brushes that you can use to embellish your pages. You can edit your photos with them. You can kind of scuff up the elements or age them. Lots of different ways to use the brushes here. And then finally, the elements. And the elements are very theme specific this time. Typically, I try and keep them more neutral. It's probably why I include a lot of flowers and branches and leaves and things like that, because that tends to be my personal preference. It also tends to lend itself well to a variety of themes. But in this case, I was going for a bit of a more masculine approach. But there are some fun little pieces in here, this crown little button, and of course the coffee beans are really fun. I really like this old film reel, which would lend itself really well to a heritage page. These boots kind of remind me of my husband's Flightline boots when he was in the Air Force. And so, you know, these could be recolored to whatever color you wanted. You could make them black or green or gray. And I always love these vintage glasses. They're always so fun, the way people use them, really fun to make sort of self-portraits or to just add some visual interest to your design. And a couple of fun ways that some of the team members have used that. Always a big fan of ribbons, and they go really well with a variety of different designs. I have just put together actually a cheat sheet for making an element cluster for the travel project that basically is kind of centered around these larger style, more expansive elements. So that kind of just made me think of that right there. But they come in, as you can see, a PSD and PNG format so that you can kind of either manipulate them in Photoshop or Elements, or you can use the elements independently as you wish. So a couple of lots of different options here. I love this giant key too. That one's super fun. So hopefully try and use some of these today. And then we have the, let's go down. I don't want to look at everything, I don't think. We have the Artsy template, which I'm going to be using later today. This is using that paper design that I've just brought into my workspace. We've got a couple of extra frames here and some journaling spots. And these are really great for either creating a quick and easy layout. You can combine them with the FotoBlendz, or you can kind of take pieces from the template and create your own designs using those. And then what have we got in here? Next is word art. We sort of had a quick look at those. I always like to create a variety of different types of word art. That way you can kind of combine them together to create some really interesting and personalized titles for your pages. And then, of course, we have the Strom FotoBlendz. And so these are really designed for you to be able to blend your photos easily into your paper designs. And they come in a variety of formats. You can use the whole PNG file, and you can just pull that into your workspace, and you can see that that is in single layer PNG format. You can also go ahead and bring in the PSD file. And if I bring this one in and we take a look at the layers, you can see that there's a lot of different layers. So exactly the same design, it's just that one has been merged together. And to be honest, I use both of them. I like to use both of them. If I want something quick and easy, I'm likely to use this one here. If I want something just a little bit more not even user-friendly, but customizable, if I want to be able to customize it and be able to change these elements independently, then I can do that. So if I place this FotoBlendz over this area here, and I go ahead and go into my photos, and I'm just gonna grab a photo. I have not been very good about uploading my photos lately. So here's one of Luke. So I'm just gonna drag this one in. So if I want to drag him in and put him in this FotoBlendz, I can go to Layer, Create Clipping Mask. And you can see that as I pull this photo over, it pretty much covers the entire area. If I wanted to use those layers independently, I have a little bit more flexibility. I'm going to select all of these layers, drag them over. So exactly the same design. But now if I select the actual FotoBlendz layer and I go ahead and I drag this over, and go to Layer, Create Clipping Mask. And then I have the flexibility here to then be able to move some of these elements around. So if I decide I don't want to keep that, I can turn it off, or I can move it down. I can choose to keep this art stroke or not. I can also choose to move these things around. So I could duplicate them if I wanted to. I can make them a little larger. So there's lots of different ways that I can kind of play around with these layers to modify the artistry. I can also change the color by going to Edit Fill and then going to Color, selecting perhaps a brown instead of black, ensuring you have that preserve transparency box checked, and then changing that color. And you can see that just softens it across the bottom there. So I'm just going to kind of bring this in so that we have Luke in the mix here. So that is kind of how those FotoBlendz work. And then I wanted to show you the multimedia just real fast on how those work. They're designed to also work with the FotoBlendz. And they're really, this particular multimedia documents is a whole series. This is number 10 in the series. So I've done a number of these, and they're comprised basically of blended papers. And so what I like to personally do is bring in the whole thing. So I select the first layer in the layers panel and then the last layer, and then I bring it on like this. And then it's a matter of just modifying it. So you have different options in the way. Do I maybe want to sort of bring that down between the layers if I want to? So I can do that. You can move this out. And I think that's kind of how I want it to go. And then you have the option as well of being able to turn off some of these layers. So if you don't want to have all of these different options, then you can sort of modify them and take some of them out of the mix. You can move the stitching around. Managed to grab the wrong one there. So I could move the stitching around. I can make it work in any way I want. I can change the placement of this button over here. So really these paper pieces are designed to go around the edges of the FotoBlendz to increase the visual interest and to provide more texture to your blended photos. You've also heard me talk many times about containment of images in your blending, and these paper pieces also help to do that. So that is the collection. We did have the bonus, which I didn't actually go into. I'm going to go ahead and just grab the paper from that one, and we'll perhaps work with that in one of the layouts that we're going to be going into shortly. But you get an extra bonus artsy paper. You also get some word art. I'm not going to go into all of these files. Hopefully it will just, for some reason my computer's running a little slow, but you get this fun little car element, and then a number of different elements in terms of the word art. So there are 3 extra wood words. There are This Guy, The Modern Gentleman, and To Be Legendary word art titles. And then I also include 5 different layout designs, basically using the pieces and showing you different ways that they can go together. So that can be really helpful if you're looking for ideas to create. And then of course, we have the artsy cards and the artsy transfers, which I will go into as we start creating our pages. So before we do that, I just want to sort of walk you through some of the layouts that I've collected. I must have maybe missed some, I'm not sure, along the way. I usually have a lot more layouts than this, but somehow I seem to have not got as many this week. So this one is from Nancy, and she has taken advantage of this neutral palette and some of the heritage pieces to document an old photo. And it's a fairly simple layout, and that's kind of how I try and design these products, is that you can literally just drag and drop them to support your photos. So I'm thinking that she probably used either one of the FotoBlendz, or she custom blended her photo into the background. She created a title that supported her photo, and then she used one of the multimedia files with a couple of those book clips. This one is a little bit more complex. I'm just going to do it this way because I think it will work better. But this is crazy cool. Obviously this is Adrienne. A really great use of the glasses here, the layering of all of the documents to create that layered effect. And then you can see some of the photos in the background. I really like how she has recolored the shapes and, you know, just done her thing. This branch here is one of the elements in the ArtPlay palette, and I really like how she has supported the curves. So we have the curves in some of the zeros and the X's that I've created, and then we've got this curve here. And I love how she has masked away some of the frame that's included with the ArtPlay palette, and again, with the spectacles or the glasses, the eyeglasses, and then she's added in the bits of texture, and then lots of blending modes, of course. And the blending modes really allow you to enhance the brights and put those against the contrasts and make them super interesting. This one's from Heather. Always love to see her pages. They always have this sort of traditional grounding to them, but then with the artsy supplies, then they add in, she just adds in this just different component, but her work has always been very individual to me. I really like how she's taken one of these tree brushes and she's laid that over the top of her photo to extend that imagery beyond the scope of the photo. And that can sometimes happen when you are clipping a photo to a FotoBlendz. You will lose parts of trees and perhaps buildings. And so some of those architecture brushes or some of the tree brushes, any of the brushes really at the store at Anna Aspnes Designs. I think I do have the store up here. If I go into my store, nothing's working today, apparently. So maybe we'll have to come back to this. But if you go into my store at Anna Aspnes Designs and click on the brushes, then you'll see a variety of different things. Even cars, you can kind of maybe add in a car brush to sort of bring back some of the detail that may be lost. I've lost that layout now. I think we were looking at it over here. This one, here we go. So just a really nice way of using those trees. And then I love how she has just layered up multiple multimedia elements to create her own custom element. And then she's added in this heart ribbon from a different collection, and then the word art to sort of create this focal point that brings in the colors of her image. I think she's in the process right now of her children are older, so she's now going back and documenting some of these older photos, which is kind of fun. And then this one is by Charlene. There's that big key that I really like. I like how she has used that twig element to sort of create a frame and encircle her artistry. I also like how she's used the stitching to adhere that twig to her layout design. And this is a really nice touch up here, this fun little bird. I think this came from, I think this is part of the FotoBlendz. I think I put some birds in the FotoBlendz. I know I've been kind of using some of these birds lately. They've been in my brushes panel and I've been having a good time with them. Really nice effect on the title here. She has sort of superimposed it. So she has a white layer and then a black layer, and she's sort of just shifted it slightly to give this sort of black and white title effect. This one's fun. This one's from Laura. So she's taken the neutral palette and she's added her own color by adding images of a knitting project that she's doing. And of course, these buttons kind of go quite well with the fact she's got this crafting project. So it's kind of crazy how you can take a collection and you can really modify it and make it your own by adding in some different colors and some different elements and sort of just making it work for your particular project. And then I don't know, this one is from Laura too. I think this is the baby bump with the cat. I think that's what I'm looking at here. So another way to use those glasses here is to just layer them, and instead of using them as a dimensional element, she has placed them as sort of a transfer. And so she's applied a blending mode to those glasses, and so they then sort of melt into the background slightly. I also like how she's used that element, that transfer element, to create some white space for her title. And she's used a variety of different elements to create that in the top right-hand corner of her page. This one is by Joan, and really kind of nice visual triangle here with the golds. Even though we have sort of 4 elements, we're sort of brought in this sort of triangle It could even bring in this part, and so it kind of creates a circle around the sky. And this was Joan's husband, so it was kind of fun. It says my husband worked most of his life at Portsmouth. So a page about her husband. I like the really light splatters against the dark background, and notice how she's recolored these elements to create more blue tones, and then those support the color of the water in the sky. Joan is in Maine, so obviously lots of sunshine and lots of water where she lives. So I really like that. This one is from Diane. Of course, Diane works in a different format to the traditional scrapbooker, but she always works in double page format, 8 by 10. And I like just the different quadrants to this. So, you know, all of these different flowers are sort of in quadrants. It's almost like her pages are divided into 4. She has these flowers, and then these, and then these, and then these. And so she's kind of added in this frame at the top here, which supports the shape of these individual flowers. Notice how she's done the same thing with this element from the multimedia documents, and then she's done the same with these elements here. So lots of repetition in the coloring, and she's used a variety of those multimedia documents to mat her overall design. Also here, I kind of didn't I failed to mention on the previous page, but I also liked how Diane, and this one is also by Diane, she's used the glasses 2 times, and she's recolored them, and she's made them real tiny. So that's always an option. It's always best to size down your elements rather than size up, because obviously you're going to lose quality if you size up. I always try and include elements at a size that I feel are functional, but it's always an option to be able to resize those elements to make them work for you. So she's used the paper again behind her images. A cute little guy here. So this was just a single page format, but it's fun how she's been able to introduce some color. I actually think this one's from Jouet, actually has some Jouet pieces in it as well. So a great example of how you can combine collections as well. This one was fun, how Joan took the 2 cars, looks like extractions from photos, and then she's combined it with the element that you get as part of the bonus collection. And then she's also created her own custom element here, using elements from previous collections and others as well. Kind of like how she has brought that ribbon through the hole in this, I'm not sure what it is, but the circle with the hearts in it. I recognize it, so I must have created it at some point. And this one is by Michelle, and she's used those boots. She's made them smaller. She's used them as sort of a focal point to her cluster. And also, if you notice, she has used the frames from the template here. And so instead of putting photos in the frames, she has embellished the frames. So applied either artsy cards or papers to the frame masks, and then embellish them. And she's used that same technique with the title. It seems to be quite popular with the team right now, and it's very effective because the white and the black really kind of makes it pop and stand out. In Michelle's case, she has applied a drop shadow layer style also to that title. So this is where the glasses are used in the larger format. This one's by Mikey. And this is how sort of I envisioned it to be used in a way. You know, I think that circles are always a great way to draw the eye to a detail. And so notice how this part of these eyeglasses encircle the one of the faces. And then it just kind of creates this big element cluster again, going back to, I just put a cheat sheet together on creating element clusters for this upcoming class that I'm doing. And so these larger elements are a really nice way to start off these clusters and sort of build a foundation. And another one here. So this one is super fun because she has, if you notice, there are eyes in here. So I think she's taken a photo of herself and she's blended it into the background. And then she's kind of got these fun stitched eyebrows from the stitching from the multimedia files. She's made the frame really tiny and actually put a full photo of her in there. But this is a really fun way to be able to kind of showcase that. I also like how she has used these In the back, it says wisdom. So it's an overlay. I used to do these a long time ago, these overlays. So maybe I need to get back to making some of those fun elements again. That would be neat to do that. I want to get back to doing some of the products that I haven't done in a while, some of the overlays and things like that. Just finding the time. And I think that's the last one that we have in the mix here. So this collection is available at OScraps. It looks like OScraps is working again now, thankfully. So you can buy it in the store, Anna Aspnes Designs. So here is the collection. You can buy the pieces individually or as a collection. I'm actually toying with doing a collection a little bit more often too, maybe every 3 to 2 weeks. So keep an eye on the emails and keep an eye on the descriptions that I send out. I used to be that I would just put a collection on for 1 week only. It's kind of now extended to a month until I release the next collection. But until I sort of move things around and figure out what works for me to allow me to get a day off every week, then there could be some changes in that. So I can guarantee that this will be available through the end of next week, next Friday. But beyond that, it may not be available. So I think that would be the 24th of June. So yeah, super fun collection. I am now going to go and start creating some pages.